Hello. All right. Live on YouTube. Welcome to the fucking news. How's everybody doing today? We're going to watch today's... Hey, what's up, Black Sheep? We're going to be watching today's press briefing, which was done on Air Force One today. So the sound's going to be bad. Just go ahead and prepare yourself. There's going to be a lot of white noise. They're in a plane. So I can't do much about it. It's going to be bad. Just tell me in the comments if there's any sound issues other than all the white noise that you're going to hear, because I know. All right, let's just make me small. So flip me around a little bit. No, that's not what I wanted. No, that's not what I wanted. Waiting for people to come in here. We got enough people, you think? Should we get started? Please do it upside down. Yeah, right. Yeah, right, Nick. All right, here we go.
It's going well. Did everybody have a good time? How about you? I did. I always have a good time. Hi, Jennifer.
You just posted right before we took off that you're not leaving because of a ceasefire. Why are you? Can you elaborate?
We're looking at better than ceasefire. We're not looking for a ceasefire. I didn't say I was looking for a ceasefire. That was Emmanuel. Nice guy. But he doesn't get it right too often. But we're not looking. We're looking for better than a ceasefire.
He's not looking for a ceasefire. He's just looking for a better than a ceasefire.
You can do anything more for Israel right now?
We're doing pretty well. Right now, we're doing pretty well. Remember, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. We don't have to go too deep into it. They just can't have a nuclear weapon.
What was the thinking on the call for Tehran to evacuate? Is there a threat or is there incoming? What was the thinking on the full evacuation?
I want people to be safe. And that's always possible. A thing like that could happen. I just want people to be safe.
Is there any new concern about U.S. troops or assets in the region today?
We have great people. They know how to protect themselves.
And when you say better, what specifically do you
Not so
mean?
hard if they do anything to our people. We'll come down so hard, then the gloves are off so beautifully. Now, I think they know not to touch our troops.
Are you sending the vice?
Yeah, our troops are ready.
When you
Do
say
you
better,
want to send the vice president and Steve Witkoff?
Interesting.
There's reports that you want to send the vice president and Steve Witkoff to meet with the Iranians and have discussions. Is that something you're considering?
Not sure yet. I may. Depends on what happens when I get back.
what specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here?
A real end, not a ceasefire.
Yeah.
An
What do you mean? What's better than a ceasefire?
or
The end of all the conflict.
giving up entirely. That's okay too.
Are you close there? Are you possible?
That's
Is that
okay,
possible in the next
too.
24, 48 hours?
Certainly possible. A complete give up. That's possible, yeah.
I don't think Iran will be completely surrendering anytime soon.
If Iran were to attack U.S. bases or do any damage to U.S. bases?
Just can't do it.
Can I ask you, because there's been some skepticism, is there any guarantee that if the U.S. did get involved militarily, that a U.S. bomb could destroy Iran's nuclear program and facilities?
Everything or anything or life, you know that. Look at you, right? There's no guarantee. But you're saying a guarantee on what?
Do you think if the U.S. got involved militarily, it would actually wipe out Iran's nuclear program?
I'll
Or
report
what's
on
your
Kenya, don't
assessment of
worry.
that?
I hope their program's going to be wiped out.
I'll look into
before
it.
that. But they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
What can you hear from BBs? Do you have any reason to believe the Israelis are going to slow down, or are they going to hit the accelerator right now because they've got superiority?
Find out over the next 2 days, right? You're going to find out.
Has the gang of eight,
Nobody's slowed up so far.
has the gang of eight been notified
Nobody's
about what's
blown
coming
up
in
so
the next couple
far.
days?
We'll be talking to them.
What can you do?
It's not necessary.
What can you do in Washington that you wouldn't do in Canada?
Just be a little bit, I think...
My live is definitely showing on YouTube. Somebody says it's not
Not
showing.
having to use telephones
It is.
so much because I don't believe in telephones. Because people like you listen to them. You know?
No, we're not fucked.
So,
People are asking if we're
being on the
fucked.
scene is much better.
Nah,
And
not
we
yet.
did everything I had to do on the G7. We had a good G7. We signed the deal with the European Union, phase one of a deal, but we signed the deal with the UK. And the UK is really great. We,
Somebody, I had some
very far
liberals
down the line
commenting
with a lot of
about him
deals.
getting the EU and UK
We're
confused.
actually finished with
We just
everything.
saw him
The
not
thing
get
about
those two
it
things
is a lot of
confused,
people
right?
say
Just
this
making
is
sure.
what
Did
But
Secretary
it's nice to be nice.
Did Secretary Bessent stay behind as your representative? Or, okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, a couple of people.
Can I ask you where?
Who else has a question other than
Who else has a question other than CNN?
Can you tell us what the status is on talks on those you signed with the UK today?
I don't feel that they're offering a fair deal yet.
I saw the Nigerian news. It'll be on
Very
today's
tough
report.
over the
Don't worry.
years. If you look at European Union, they formed in order to hurt the United States on trade. And we're either going to make a good deal or they'll just pay whatever we say they have to pay.
What about the Japanese? So you met briefly with Prime Minister
We had a great
Shiba?
conversation. I thought he was terrific, actually. You know, I was very friendly with Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister. He was a great man. But I think he's going to do a very good job.
You think you have a chance of a deal there?
Chance. They're tough. Japanese are tough. But ultimately, you have to understand, we're just going to send a letter and say, this is what you're going to pay. Otherwise, you don't have to do business with us. But there's a chance of a deal.
Do you want to change
That doesn't sound like much of a negotiation.
That on the table.
Anything else?
It's a drone attack in Kyiv. What's your response to that? It looks like 14 or so. A drone attack, a Russian drone attack in Kyiv. Very recently. It seems 14 civilians in an apartment building.
People are saying that this interview is from hours ago, and
Statement on the Middle
yes,
East. What
I'm
changed about that
live.
that
The
convinced
video
you to
isn't
sign on
live.
to it?
I'm live.
Well, I haven't seen the statement yet, but I authorized them to say certain things. I don't know whether or not they
Did
said
you watch it?
correctly.
Did
But
you
I
watch
think
it when
they
it was
probably
live,
did.
or are
We had a
you
good,
just watching it and hearing it
good
now?
meeting. I think that
That's the real question.
Canadian representative.
Let me know in the chat if you've already
He did a
watched
very good job.
this press
How
conference.
were the trade? How was your meeting with him? How were the
And
trade
if you did,
talks?
thanks for coming back and watching it again with
We
me.
had a lot of good talk from a lot of people.
You said he was looking for something more complex. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
They get too complex on the deals and they never get done. And we need speed. You know, we're dealing with really, if you think about it, probably 175 countries. And most of them are going to just be sent a letter saying, it'll be an honor to trade with you, and here's what you're going to have to pay to do it. We're making a lot of money. You know, we took in $88 billion in tariffs, and I was called by Congress about 2 nights ago saying, we don't understand, the numbers are so far off. And I said, is that good or bad? He said, well, we're taking in so much more income than we thought. We've never seen anything like this. What is it? I said, check the tariff column. And it's about $88 billion that they've never seen before. And that's nothing compared to what it's going to be.
You've got other tariffs coming down the pipe here.
Hey, Brahimi, welcome to the YouTube party from Instagram.
We're going to be doing
People are still confused over there. They think
It's
this
gonna bring all the
that I'm not
companies
live
back
over
into
here.
America.
All more focusing on research time.
Back in, at least partially back in. You know, they left us because we had presidents that didn't know what the hell they were doing. We should have never lost our car business. We lost 52% of our car business over the years. We should have never lost it. All they had to do is say, if you make a car, you're going to leave us, you're going to make a car, you're going to pay a 25-30% tariff, and they would have never left. Nobody said that to anybody until I came along.
Homeland Security is saying that ICE is going to start enforcing in hotels and farms again.
Is that true? I don't know.
We're gonna look everywhere,
Seems like
but I
pure
think the biggest
speculation to
problem
me,
is the
but
inner cities.
could be true.
We're looking everywhere.
Certainly.
Look, what they let into this country, what Biden let in, or allowed to, I don't think he knew what the hell he was doing, frankly, but whoever worked
I can't
for
see
him,
what flag that is, so if you're
But
trying
they
to tell me
let
about
into
some
this
news,
country.
tell me what the news is, not
we're
the
never going to
flag.
forget it.
Tell me
They
where.
let
Tell me where to look.
prisoners in, they let gang members in, drug dealers in, the mentally insane into our country. No, we're going to get them out. There are far more in the inner cities, Democrat-run cities. Sadly, I mean, I'm just giving you a fact. there's far more in there than you have on a farm or someplace.
No one's getting exemptions anymore. Everyone is.
They look at, but the bigger problem is the cities right now. That's where you are. And that tends to be where the really bad ones are. The murderers, you know, they've let in 11,888 murderers. People that killed people. Biden allowed that to happen.
Did he just use a real number?
Democrats
A real figure? 11,000? That 11,000 number is a far cry from all of the immigrants, the millions of immigrants that have come in the last few years. I don't know that I've ever used him. I've never heard him use that small of a number when talking about criminal immigrants.
Talk to Senator Thune about that.
John Thune's doing a very good job. You know, I've got a lot of people.
That is a lot of murderers. To be clear, it's about 1% of the murderers in the United States, but it is a lot.
The
It is still a
Democrats
lot.
would take maximum time, every hour, every minute, to delay him as long as possible. If we had a combination of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, they would go max. It's called max time.
So you always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon, but how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear
I
weapon.
don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one.
I got one on. You were at this beautiful scene for the meeting, and you said a lot about acquiring Canada as a state. Did anybody talk to you about that? And where are you now?
Much better deal from Canada, but you know, it's up to them. You know, they're going to have to pay a lot of tariffs and things. They're going to have to pay a lot of money for the dome, for the Iron Dome. They want to be a part of it. We may make a separate deal on that, by the way. We discussed that, yeah, on the dome. That may be a separate deal. They want to be at 71 billion. They're going to pay.
They're going to be a dome thing separate from the tariff.
In the dome, yeah, they'll be under the dome.
And are you open to negotiating with the Iranians right now, or do you want to wait?
I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. Their cities have been blown to pieces and lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate now.
Do you think you'll be in this situation?
Thanks, Crispy Time.
Tomorrow morning, girl, while you're sleeping.
Thanks, Black Sheep. Yeah, make sure that you like and subscribe
Evacuate Tehran.
to the
You know, you
YouTube channel.
posted evacuate.
I think it's safe.
There's links in the description also if you want to subscribe to the Substack. There's a lot more stuff there.
Evacuate.
On Minnesota, there were a lot of horrific details that came out today about the suspect who's been charged there. Have you called the governor yet or been able
We
to
have a
speak to
veteran
him?
talking about how war is never the answer. I love
Appointed
that.
this guy to
I
represent
love
him.
that.
I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling him. Why would I call him? I could call him and say, hi, how you doing?
Thank you, Viria.
The guy doesn't have a clue. He's a mess.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah,
So,
everybody.
I
Make
could
sure
be
you're
nice and call him.
liking and
Why
subscribing.
waste time?
On the great beautiful bill, sir, can you talk about what the Senate?
Well, with a big,
I've been looking at the Senate. They
great,
proposed some
big,
change.
beautiful bill,
Are
right?
you okay with their changes?
I hear so far.
No, it's not called the Great Big Beautiful Bill. It's called the One Big Beautiful
If it
Bill.
doesn't get approved, 68% tax increase, and I think the Democrats would have to, you know, they'd be, because we won't get Democrats support. Think of it. We're giving the biggest tax cut in history. Instead, you have the biggest tax increase in history. 68%.
Are you going to extend the TikTok deadline again? It's coming up in the June.
Is your
Probably
Hey.
have to get China approval. I think we'll get it.
Yeah,
Just gonna keep extending the TikTok deadline. I love that.
You have the legal basis to do that, to keep extending it.
I haven't seen that reported at all today. He just said he's gonna extend the TikTok ban again.
Involved in helping Iran, or is
Probably.
Russia getting more involved with
I
military
haven't seen it.
assistance?
No,
What
I don't
about-
think anybody wants to get involved. It's a mess.
What about American citizens, U.S. citizens who are trying to leave the area with the airport shut down, Ben Gurion shut
We're
down?
doing the best we can with it. We're working on that. We're doing the best we can. Thank you, everybody, very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Short and sweet, guys. Short and sweet. Should we look at his short and sweet press conference from the G7? From G7 yesterday? Tell me in the comments if you want to see that. I'll finish up my One Big Beautiful Bill comparison on a different live, maybe tonight or maybe tomorrow. But he did speak at G7. There it is. Let's watch this.
All right, thank you. Mr. President. Welcome to Canada.
This was yesterday
Happy
with
birthday.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark
short.
Carney.
A few days short, but didn't have a chance to see you on the day. Happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7, and the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership of the United States, many issues. Geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. Very much looking forward to the meeting and grateful to have you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it, and we've developed a very good relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things.
Is it the way his suit
And,
fits,
we
or does
a
Mark
whole
Carney
group of
have
people, some
terrible
traders
posture?
And some other people. I see my top economy people. But we have a very talented
Kinda
group of
hunched
people,
over.
and you do too, and I know they work together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack
That's true.
Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago, but it didn't work out.
I
that
wonder
way,
if
but
them
it used to be the
not
G8,
wanting
and now
Russia
it's,
in had anything to
what's
do
that,
with
9 years ago,
Russia's
8 years ago, it switched over. They
wanting to invade
threw
Ukraine.
Russia out,
I'm gonna
which I claimed was a
gonna
very
check
big
that real
mistake,
quick.
even though I wasn't in politics then. I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table, so it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a
I'm
lot.
1,000%
And I
right.
expect to, and I think
I'm 1,000% right, and it was just a guess.
Trade with Canada.
It was just a guess,
And I'm
too,
sure
guys.
we can
Look
work
at this.
something out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so much. Thank you very much.
So I asked, why was Russia ejected from G8? And the answer is because of Russia's annexation of Crimea,
What is holding up the deal
which
with
is
Canada?
related to the Ukraine.
It's not so much
issue.
holding up. I think we have
It was
different
widely
concepts. I have a
condemned as a
tariff
violation
concept.
of international
Mark
law,
has a
and they kicked
different
him out of the
concept,
G8.
which
It
is
wasn't like Obama.
something that
Hold
some
on.
people like. But we're going to see if we can get
just
to the
gonna
bottom
ask.
of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to
Okay,
see
so
what
Barack
we're going to
Obama
come
played a
out with
leading
something.
role because the United States always plays a leading role in the decisions that G7 makes.
Days, within weeks,
The
is there
decision was
that kind
made
of runway?
collectively.
Yeah. It's
Canada, France,
both
Germany, Italy,
parties
Japan,
have
and
to
even
agree.
in the
Sure.
UK.
Mr. President, have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from
Obama
the
Obama
Iranians?
was
They'd like to
instrumental in
talk.
persuading more
They
hesitant
should have
allies.
done that before. I had
According to
60 days, and they
ChatGPT.
had 60 days, and
But it was not
on
a
the
unilateral
61st day, I
decision by
said,
Obama.
we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties. But I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about that. We'll
As you
see.
mentioned Putin, do you think that he should have a seat at the G7 today, that it should be the G8?
I'm not saying he should at this point.
Ooh,
There's
should
too
Russia
much
be there now?
Water's gone over the dam, maybe. But it was a big mistake. Obama didn't want him, and
They condemned what they were doing at the time. It wasn't like for no
This was a
reason.
big mistake. You wouldn't have that war. You know, you have your enemy at the table.
But I
even-
did like that
don't
answer,
consider
though. He did
wasn't
say, like,
really
oh,
an enemy
obviously
at that
can't do
time.
it now.
There was no concept.
That
If I
shows
were
a little bit
president,
of
this war would have
reason,
never
I
happened.
think.
But likewise, if he were a member of what was called the G8 at that time, it was always the G8, you wouldn't have a war right now.
It was always the G8 until Russia annexed Crimea.
Providing Israel.
We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly.
Strongly.
And Israel's doing very well right now.
Israel's doing very well right now. Israel's doing very well right now.
By that,
Israel
somebody
is
wants to
at war
suggest
with
China
almost
coming in.
every
I think
country
we
it
suggest,
borders.
But you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk. Putin speaks to me. He
Israel's
doesn't speak to
doing
anybody
well
else.
right
Because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8.
Oh shit!
As I would be, as you would be. As
I take it
everybody
back.
would be. He was
We're
very
totally
insulted.
fucked, you guys.
And I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau.
Israel's
who
doing
convinced
great.
one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out. And
This is the
he's,
third time he
not
has
a
said
happy
this.
person about it, I can tell you that.
We get it.
He basically doesn't even speak to the people.
Who's
that
Carney
throw him out,
signaling to?
And I agree with him.
Should someone be asking Carney a question, or is this all?
ICE to target Democratic inner cities. What's behind that?
I don't know what you're saying.
You did a post last night where you said you want ICE to really target Democratic.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities. And
He
that's
wants
where the
them to
people
focus
are.
on
I
sanctuary
look at
cities.
New
What do you
York, I
guys
look
think
at
about that?
Chicago. I mean, you got a really
He's
bad
right that
governor
sanctuary
in
cities are
Chicago,
going to have
a
the
bad
most
mayor.
number of
But
undocumented
the governor's
immigrants,
probably the worst in the
obviously.
country. Prince
What do you
King.
think about him
But I
targeting
look
those
at how
with his
that
ICE
city
raids?
has been overrun by criminals, and New York and L.A. Look at L.A. L.A. Those people weren't from L.A. They weren't from California. Most of those people, many of those people. And,
Well, that's
yeah,
not true. Most
that's
of the
focus.
people at the
Biden
rallies
allowed
were
21 million people to come into our
from Los
country.
Angeles. Why would he say
Of
that?
Vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those
See, that
people
part's
are in
not
the
true.
cities. All blue cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
Undocumented immigrants do not vote, I don't think.
If you don't mind,
Or at least
I'm going to
they're very
exercise my
small.
role,
Oh.
if you will, as a G7 chair. Since
Carney's interrupting.
we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So, alors, merci beaucoup.
Is he ending it?
Thank you.
That's it. That's it. Thank you very much.
Oh. Okay, well then. Shorter than I thought it was. Oh, well, those are all of the Trump direct statements regarding everything that's going on in the world. I assume that there will be more today. Let's just make sure before I go here there isn't another press briefing or anything going on that I might want to watch with you guys. Nope. Nope. I don't want to watch the Trump family participate in a G7 photo. No Caroline Leavitt today, huh? Okay, well, there you go, guys. That's going to be it then. Thanks for joining me. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Make sure that if you want to support the channel, you go to my Substack, theforkinnews.substack.com, not the fucking news. I found out there is a the fucking news on Substack. Fuck those guys. It's the forkin news with the number 4.substack.com. That is where you can really support me. That is where I put a lot more work in. You can get more details, extra content, extra videos, extra links to the things that I report on. So go subscribe there. There is a free option if you really don't want to pay for it, but, let's build that up a little bit. And, only if you give a shit. Oh, wait. Before I go here, someone just asked, can we have your thoughts on these two pressers? I assume that pressers is short for press briefings. My thoughts are this. Let me organize my thoughts a little bit here. The first one... I gotta say, I think that his rhetoric has been a little more solid this time around. It's still inflammatory sometimes, but I think for the most part, he is choosing his words a bit more carefully. And I've liked a lot of his responses. I don't personally care who the president is. I always look at every situation in a vacuum because I approach every situation under the assumption that I don't know the whole truth, which is probably true. That's why when people assert in my comment section that they know I'm lying, or they know this person's lying, or they know such and such, I know that they're wrong. I know that they don't know that, not that they're wrong. They could be right. But I know that there's no way for them to know that they're right. So there's a lot of wild speculation, and more importantly, there's a lot of speculation that people think is true, and act as such. But, I feel like his answers were mostly pretty vague enough to, he was getting a lot of questions that included people asking, especially in like the first press conference, people were asking very specific details. How are you going to handle this? Will we enter the fight with Iran? All those things. He obviously can't say that for like national security purposes. And he didn't say anything. I would say that his Truth Social post yesterday telling the people of Tehran to evacuate and things like that was a much stronger, even though that also was, I think, blown out of proportion. I think a lot of people read it as a threat or read it as him having some kind of insider knowledge. That's not how I read it, obviously. From the neutral perspective, he was just saying like shit might go down and the only safe place to be is not there. But that's just the neutral way of it. Obviously, the right is everybody has their own speculation, right? That is the without speculation view of it. The second one here with Mark Carney was just kind of weird. It was a joint press conference from G7 where they're talking about all kinds of stuff, and all the questions were directed at Trump, and I don't know. Again, he seemed to be pretty careful with his words. I think that it's a sort of unfolding situation. There is no truth about it at the moment. You know what I mean? Both sides are right. Both sides are wrong. The truth will hopefully come out in the future, looking back. But as of right now, I don't even know who's attacking who at this moment. You know what I mean? They're constantly attacking each other, and then I hear that Iran wants to strike a deal, or Iran isn't interested in a war, and then I hear the exact opposite. Same thing with Trump. I hear that Trump doesn't want a war, then I hear that Trump is ready to militarize. Like, there is no solid truth right now. The events are unfolding. Anything could change at any moment. Anything that he said today could change tomorrow if Iran carries out an attack on the United States or something like that, right? So I think that the insight we just got in these two press briefings is fairly minimal. But at the same time, I think that they were kind of as transparent as he could be, to his credit. I think that he told us everything that he could, with the exception of the stuff about prisons being emptied into the United States. Other than that, I didn't even think that he said anything that was really like his normal inflated, he wasn't using the normal sort of verbose language that he was, other than answering that one question. And then he kept it brief. He didn't repeat it 100 times like he does quite often. Like he did in the Mark Carney speech, where he kept repeating that Obama and the former Canadian Prime Minister were responsible for Russia being kicked out of G8. And to be clear, that's just something he didn't agree with. Like, he's saying he would have handled that differently. He thinks it was wrong. That doesn't mean it was wrong. Hindsight's obviously 50-50. At the time, Russia was annexing Crimea. To say that, like, oh, I don't know why they made that decision is kind of silly. Anyways, thanks everybody. I usually don't give my opinion. I tend to I want you to think. I want you to give me your opinion. I want to know. I don't want to influence people's opinions. That's never the intention of my reports or anything like that. I don't want to tell you what to think or how to feel about these things. I want to help you inform yourself. So my reports are typically, just the main basic facts of things, and people still get upset at the details that are left out, etc., etc. But it's supposed to be the main basic facts, a starting point for the research, for your own research, or for a conversation. And then, you know, these lives are intended to help you watch things you wouldn't normally watch. How many of you would tune in to just watch Trump speak? Okay, even if you're a Trump supporter, you probably wouldn't just watch a 10-minute press gaggle on Air Force One, right? But, you know, maybe with me putting it out there, you will. Maybe you'll watch the whole thing. I think that a lot of people are misinformed not by misinformation necessarily, but by, you know, clips of things. They see one clip and they create an imaginary context, or a clip is shown to them with a given context. But if you watch the whole thing, you can see the actual reality of the context, and you can make up your own mind a little bit, I think, a more informed opinion. So my intention is never to give my opinion about things or to slant any information. It is always to give you the bare facts of a situation and the full story in these lives so that you can make your own informed opinion. And whatever that may be doesn't make a difference to me. If you support Trump, that's fine. If you hate Trump, also fine. You live your life according to whatever you feel is right. So with that, thanks again for joining me, and have a great day, guys.